June 10th is a song I wrote about my grandfather who passed. He passed on June 10th, 2017, and I wrote it about a year later. I wrote it mainly about the relationship that he had with my cousin, Soffie, because I feel like his life and or passing affected her the most. So this was back in 2018, so I was still in Soffie Academy and we were doing our songwriting class. So because it was still a very fresh occurrence in our lives, that was the first thing that I decided to write about. So because I didn't really have as much context and also just enough of a relationship with him, I asked her, and I remember she sent me a very long text in the morning as I was on my way to class. And so basically the song is just bits and pieces of that text, just her talking about how she felt after he passed, and even just during the process of the last days of his life when he was in hospital, and how he would say things like, it's his time, he's ready to go, he feels like he's going because God loves him so much, that's why he's going. And so it was a very hard thing for us to listen to, but also we accepted it because he accepted it, but it was still didn't make it any easier. So basically June 10th is just that text that she sent, just expressing how she felt about it, and thankfully I was able to put those words into melody. So that's basically what June 10th is about. My own relationship with my guka was very interesting. Back before we moved houses, this was pre-2014, we used to live not too far away from each other, so we'd go over there constantly. And most times I'd go there, I didn't want to go there only because I knew he'd want me to speak Kikuyu, which I didn't know much of, and unfortunately I still don't know much of to this day, unfortunately, but I'm trying. But that's something that he really was very insistent on us knowing. And I think one of my earlier memories of him was him driving us to school on days when my parents couldn't, and he'd drive very fast. So he'd come very early in the morning. By 6 he was already at our door, honking, waiting for us to come out, drive very fast to school. And it's like, okay, why are we rushing? But I remember he was a very diligent timekeeper. He was very, strict, but also in a very light-hearted way. He was definitely the glue that held our family together for a long time. I think after he passed, things definitely changed. The dynamics in our family changed just a little bit, but enough to be felt. Up until that point, I don't think I'd ever faced a loss as big as that one and as close as that one, because we are a very close family, just the extended family. He's my dad's dad. So yeah, my memories of him were just him being lighthearted, easygoing, but also very strict about things that mattered. My own death. I think for me, I would like to be remembered as, for my music, first of all. I think that's one of the things that I really hope to leave as a legacy. I think the music that I've put out and the stories that I tell, I hope are evergreen and will forever resonate with whoever is to listen to it. I want to be remembered for my brilliance, for my creativity. But yeah, I don't think, there's someone I was speaking to the other day who was like, he feels like he's lived his whole life, like even if he was to die today, he's fine. And I'm like, I don't think I'm there yet. So I feel like there's still so much I need to do, but also it's like, what? But yeah, I just hope that it's the music that I've put out is enough to have someone remember. Like, I feel like even with the community that I've built, I'm hoping, even if it's not 1,000, 1,000,000 people, the 10, 20 people who come for my shows, if they can live with those songs long enough to pass on to their children and their children, and I think that's good enough for me. I think it's a blessing to have the power to have the chance to create something that resonates with someone so much that they make it part of their lives, and I think that's what music does. So yeah, as a musician, that's the only thing I can hope for. I just hope that my music transcends not just my generation, but the ones that follow. But the song is also a tribute to a lot of other people who have since, even before, people who have passed in my family. Like I said, my dad's dad was the first real significant loss that I had faced up until that point. But even before, of course, my mom had lost her brother. Some other family members had passed in, and after that I lost a cousin, I lost a friend who was with me in Soffie Academy. Actually, during my first performance of June 10th, he actually did my BGVs. His name was Mackenzie, and he has since passed. Um, my ooh. A month after my dad's dad passed, my mom's dad also passed. So yeah, it's been nimekuwa red, nimeharibu makeup ya Ted. Okay. But yeah, I think mainly I really wanted to include all the pictures of all the people who have passed in my family and also just friends, because I think their lives have impacted me and also just the people around me way more than we could have realized. I think I would really have wanted to immortalize my gukas and my grandmas and my cousins and friends who have passed, and I think even just opening up that space to have some of my listeners send through some pictures of their loved ones. I think death is something that is universal. It's a very lonely feeling, but it's also felt by everyone in almost the same way. So I think it's important to recognize the people who have left, and just to make sure that you remember them and you remember their impact and you remember the things that they passed on to you. And I think with family, like with lineage, it's the small things, like when I was looking at my mom's photo, I just saw myself, and it's crazy because I can't remember really. She passed when I was still really young, so who knows what about me is actually from her. It's that kind of thing. You never really know what you got where. So it's a difficult thing, but it's also very necessary to feel it, because that's how you remember them and that's how you know that you loved them and they loved you. And yeah, I hope that people are able to see those photos and not really think to, like, what's the word? To see the photos and not really feel pain, but more of just like hope and like a release also. Because I feel like also even ever since my guka passed, I haven't really thought about it up until lately, when I've now been thinking about it and compiling the photos and going back to look at old pictures and old albums, and it's been really hard, but it's also a necessary pain, let me say that. But yeah, I hope June 10th is helpful to someone. I hope it reminds us that we're not here forever, and I can only hope that if and when I pass, it means something to someone to want to write a song about it one day.
Death is such a weird thing. I remember thinking at some point, like, the circle is getting smaller and smaller, because before it was like an uncle, a distant one, or someone who you don't really know. But it's from like 2020, the circle just started getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and like this year is when it like really hit close. It's, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a pain that you try to run away from, you try to escape, but it'll always be right there with you. And Eugene, I love you. I wish I got to tell you that more when you're still here with us. And yeah, may you forever rest in peace.
When Muthaka asked me about this song, I was quite hesitant to send her the images she wanted, because to me it's quite heavy, especially because I don't show my mom off to most of my friends. But one thing I've come to understand about grief is you don't walk away from grief. You learn to live day by day. And for me, grieving has not stopped. If I say something that will trigger that moment, it takes me back to nostalgia, thinking about the specific date. And this song, personally for me, is a dedication from Muthaka to my family because she's my friend. And it's going out to my mom and my brother. My mom's called Beatrice. My brother's called George. And I love them so, so much. It's all love. And we have to accept what happens, and what happens. But we have to live. And God is giving us the grace to live.
A fond memory I have of Guka is back when I was a teenager and we used to live with him at his place. We'd be watching news, especially the 7 o'clock news. I didn't like it because Kiswahili wasn't my strong suit. But he'd call me, or the 9 p.m. one. That one I kinda would like to watch. But the 7 p.m. one, he'd call me and be like, Sophia, sit down here. Say everything you need to say before the news start. So you know how it starts with vidokezo? And he'd call me during vidokezo. And it's like, everything you have to say, Sophia, say it now. Because once news imeanza, I don't want to hear you talk. And then I had nothing to say during vidokezo. I'm just like, Guka, there's nothing I want to say. And then I sit down. News ianze, the first news item that comes, I'm just like, opinion. I'd give my opinion for the next 30 minutes until the 7 news imeisha, and it's now 7:30. At least the 9 p.m. one was an hour long, so I couldn't talk for an hour, but still he'd get so frustrated. And there are times he'd see me walking in at like 7, maybe from school or from church, and he's just like, oh man, so today I'm not watching news. And even then I enjoyed because I could see he's mad, but jokingly, it's like, I don't know. Yep, that was it still is a very fond memory. And even then, I knew it was like a great moment, Yeah. I'd say I've experienced different versions of Guka over the years. So when I was younger, I'd think Guka is very old. And one of my greatest fears was that he'd die soon. And then I was like 3 years old, 4 years, 5. And he passed away when I was 20. So I didn't know I had like 15 years with him, 15 more years. And it felt, so I was always scared that I'd lose him. But when I was also younger, he was very strict. He didn't like us chewing gum. He'd find us watching cartoon and he'd just be like, the television is I don't know. But it would be like, this thing, ikitu ni shetani. I mean, he was just like, you guys, you're being like, your minds or your brains are being controlled by the white man, so to speak. Okay, maybe it wasn't that deep. But but like, because you know how when even as kids you're so active, and then when you're watching, he'd just be like, look at all of you, mesubatu. Yeah, and as soon as he'd come in the house, he'd just be like, zima hiyo kitu, and we'd get so mad. And there's also Shosho, who was now like the mother hen. So if you wanted something, you'd ask Shosho. She'd be like more cool with it. But Guka, yeah, Shosho was okay for Shosho. With Shosho, what it was you can't go there with the nitro spaghetti tops, tumbo cats. That's a different story. Because with Shosho, can I tell the Shosho one? Do I finish the Guka one? Go ahead. Because with Shosho, I feel like she was ahead of her time. She was very modern, and I don't want to say feminist and disrespect that she was a Christian woman, because sometimes feminist is taken the wrong way, but she was very self-empowered. And as soon as she'd see us, her granddaughters, who most of us are Ndutas, she'd tell us, sit down there. Now let me tell you how I raised 9 children as a seamstress or a tailor. And she'd start. And so if she saw you with a tumbo cut or a spaghetti top, she'd just be like, sit down. And she'd go on and on about how she worked hard. She's the one who fed the family. She's the one who, all those things. And so us, we wouldn't wear spaghetti tops because, 3 hours, mngekalishwa hapo chini as she spoke or she talked. But looking back, I think that's where most of us we got our strength from. Like, we really have taken after our grandmother in terms of being strong and very independent ladies. And maybe without knowing, her telling us how hard she worked and how much she went against the grain. Because back in the day, during her time, it was usual for the woman to remain in the up country, Muranga, like not Muranga, Gishagi, like to be in the village, and the man comes to Nairobi or the town to work and then maybe go visit. But my grandmother, Shosho, said no. She was like, we'll stick as a family. And she came to Nairobi to be with her husband. And a lot of people were like, those children will be chokoras, because that's just how it was. The children that were raised in the cities grew up to be, not, they didn't have the tradition of the culture. And my grandmother was like, family comes first, we'll stick together. And that was odd back then. And that the fact that, and I think we are experiencing that our parents didn't grow up with their cousins because they were in the village, and our parents were raised here in Nairobi. And they turned out great, so did we. So, and that's my grandma. And this I know because this is one of the lectures she'd give us about how she came to Nairobi and worked so hard. And she'd be like, how many of my children have a degree? Your father has a degree. Your father has a degree. Your mother has a good job. And that. And yeah. So that was Shushu. She was mkali, but so soft. A fond memory I have of Shush is growing up, she would be coming from when we came back from school, my brothers and I, she'd call me aside and tell me, enda pale juu kitchen, nimekuwekea kitu. And it would be a banana or a tangerine or a passion, whatever was in season. I wanted to say fashion because of passion. Whatever was in season, she'd buy it and keep it for us and make it like, go get it. Have you washed your hands? And I do this for my son these days. Like, if she was cutting an orange for us, she'd make sure that white thing over there, she'd cut it. If it's an apple, she'd make sure she's removed the seeds. Like, she was so kind and so generous, and it showed because growing up, I thought if you're a grandmother, your house always has guests. Shosho and Guka's house always had guests, and they'd come in like in a line. So the house had a 5-seater, like set. 3 people on one couch, 2, and then 1. Shosho was sitting on 1. And then the one with 3 has 3 people. The one with 2 has 2 people. Maybe there's even a stool for a guest. Then another one comes. So the first one who came leaves. It's like appointment to give space for the other one. And I grew up thinking, when you become an old woman, you just have guests. And now that I'm old, I realize it's her generosity and her listening ear and her wisdom. Like, Shosho was a wise woman. Wise woman. And because she passed on later than Guka, a few years after, a lot of people who came to visit and see how she was, because she suffered from Alzheimer's, and they'd speak about how they experienced her when she was healthy, and everyone just was like, if it wasn't for Shosho and Guka, their marriages wouldn't have survived, because they came to talk to Shosho and Guka. If it wasn't for them, they wouldn't have joined the church, because Shosho and Guka were very staunch Catholics and weren't afraid of it. And even just how they lived, so many people were like, we saw this couple, we saw how much they loved each other, we saw how much they were committed, and we realized it's possible. And I didn't see that growing up. I didn't think it was odd until now, later, when other people are talking about it as if it's something that stands out, and I realized I got to experience such a unique thing. Yeah. I'd like to be remembered. it's not something I've really thought of. I'd like to be remembered as a great mom, first of all. Death became much more real once I became a mother, because now I know someone depends on me, and no one can love my son as much as I do. So death became scary. And I suffer from depression sometimes, and the thought of what if all of this just ends? And the one thing that keeps me here and keeps me going is just knowing I have to be here for my son. And so when I think of how I'd like to be remembered, I just want to be known as a good mom, first of all. And by a good mom, I mean someone who can lead by example. And if my son, at the end of it all, can say that I was present, if he can say that I taught him how to be generous, that I was able to transmit faith to him, something that he can hold on to, use it as an anchor when life just doesn't make sense. And if I happen to go before, like, my friends and my family, especially my siblings, okay, I don't know how my siblings would remember. But I'd like for people to think I was generous and I was open. And because, yeah, I mean, let me say I was generous and I was welcoming. And I'd like to think also that I've taken from my grandmother in terms of generosity. And I pray that I have her wisdom as well, just being able to, like, show people the light, be able to help them carry their burdens. I think I'd have done it. Like, for me, there's nothing more. Back in 2005, we lost our aunt, my mom's sister. And I know for her it was very heavy, because they grew up together. They were just 2 years apart, and my aunt was the older one. And we lived with her. We lived with my mom, her sister, and us, the children. And so for us, we didn't know that people don't live like that. So she was like our second parent when we lost her. And I think as a kid, you're able to go through so much without knowing you're going through it, and God just gives you the grace. But there's this one day, okay. There's this one day when I realized I can't remember her voice. I felt so guilty. I was just like, and I tried and tried to just remember how she sounded, because it's so natural to know someone's voice, yeah? Like you, but now all of a sudden, just one day I was like, hiya, I can't remember. And that's when I realized how great a loss we have. Because I don't know if it's a family thing, but we haven't taken a lot of videos. I don't think we have a video that has Auntie Lucy talking. And thinking that I'll never get to hear her voice again. And she was very motherly to us. My mom was like corporate, and Auntie was the one who's wearing skirts when mom is wearing power suits. And so just to lose that motherly touch, while at first it wasn't heavy, the day I realized I'll forget how she looks like, I'll forget the texture of her hair. She had really nice hair. I'll forget her smile. But especially, I had already forgotten her voice. That was heavy. And in 2017, we lost our cousin. I was very close to her, especially when she came from Tanzania and came to live with us here in Nairobi. And when she passed away, she was back in Tanzania. And this time I was older. I was 20. She passed away a few months before Buka. And it was a shock to every one of us. And back then I used to write poems. And I remember there's a line I wrote. Okay, well, I wrote a whole thing, but the line that I remember that stuck with me is that time heals, but it also erases. And Karen was removed from us just like that, and that was so scary because we were age mates. And there's that thing where you think that you'll talk tomorrow, you'll see, like, we'll meet again, like during one of these holidays, because we were with her just the previous holiday in December for Christmas, and she had, I don't know, sent me a Facebook message or something, or commented. And it was just another one of those things where it's like, I'm in that zone where I don't feel like replying. I will one day. And that one day never came to be. And the guilt of not having spent enough time with her, of when she moved back to Tanzania, we kept on saying that I'll go visit. I want to see where she lives now. It never happened, and there was no rush. I think that's the guilt, where you think you'll be with this person forever. So I lost out on telling her I loved her, and I missed her. I missed her company here in Kenya, and yeah.
Give me peace, my beloved, give me peace. If I run any longer, I fear these feet will bleed. And let me breathe, my beloved, let me breathe. If the air gets any colder, I fear these lungs will freeze. So won't you break me? I wanna be free, I wanna be free. So won't you save me? I wanna be free, I wanna be free. Break my trust, my beloved, break my trust. If you lie any longer, I'll still give you everything. And now we crushed, my beloved, we are crushed. It's been a while since I've been sober. Won't you kiss me one more drink and then break me? I wanna be free, I wanna be free. So won't you save me? I wanna be free, I wanna be free. So won't you break me? I wanna be free, I wanna be free. So won't you save me? I wanna be free, I wanna be free. Scream it loud, my beloved, scream it loud. Don't stay silent any longer, no more reason to retreat, and we'll be found, my beloved, we've been found. I suspect these are your soldiers, they're marching to your beat, so won't you break me? I wanna be free, I wanna be, so won't you save me? I wanna be free, I wanna be, so won't you break me? I wanna be free, won't you save me? I wanna be free. I wanna be free. So won't you pray?